During this interview, you'll hear Coach Miller talk about a transfer, Tyson Gordon, who he says did not lose a game in any sport in high school. While that is primarily true for both football and basketball, Coach wanted me to clarify that Tyson did not play baseball his senior season. Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAI basketball one podcast at a time. Talk Billy D here. Good morning. It's basketball season. Hey, today we have Trent Miller. He's the head men's basketball coach at Morningside University. They didn't have a typical Morningside season last year. They're very young. They're still young this year, but they have everybody back. I mean, Coach Miller is going to talk about that. I think fans in Morningside have a lot to be excited about. Please like and subscribe this podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you when you do. And let's just go ahead and listen to Coach Trent Miller, Morningside Mustangs. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Trent Miller. He's the head men's basketball coach over at Morningside, the Mustangs. Trent Miller is entering his second year as head coach there. Coach Miller, thank you so much for being on the show.
Bill, thanks for having me. We love what you do, man.
You didn't have the typical Morningside season last season. You were very young. You're going to be getting young again this year. We'll talk about that. But talk about some of the lessons that these young guys learned last season and it wasn't terrible. You were over 500. You were 14-12. But what lessons do you think your team brought from last season?
I think, first and foremost, we had kind of hung our hat on that horse inside with Trey Brown. And Trey had broken his foot the summer going into that senior year, and he ended up doing it again about 10 games in.
Yep.
And it changed how we had to do things. Because we didn't have a backup that played in a similar style, we kind of had to tweak some things. And ultimately, man, we had some new faces with some different responsibilities. And I think if you look at obviously the conference and how good the GPAC is, the margin for error is so small. And we had a number of games that were decided by a possession. And the year previous, we were on the other end of that and had those as wins. And this year, this past season, we didn't get those close ones. And so we had a ton of adversity and a lot of opportunity to learn how to handle those close games, what's it like to play at the top speed and the physicality that you're going to see on the varsity floor that some of my guys hadn't seen before. So definitely wasn't what we hoped for, what we expected, but ultimately I think a lot of growth came. And some of our games later in the year, when our guys were clicking and getting comfortable and really competing at a high level, I loved what I saw. And that's something we wanted to build on heading into the off season and going into this season.
On paper, at least, it looks like you're going to be much, much better, much more competitive within the conference. You have a great group of returners coming back. First thing I want to ask you about is when you look at a program that's 14-12 and you say, well, it wasn't what you expect, that tells me that that's a pretty strong basketball culture. And Morningside is well known for having a strong basketball culture, a great history, and that's more than wins and losses, misses and makes. Talk about the basketball culture there at Morningside.
Yeah, well, first I appreciate that, and so many people have poured their heart and sweat into this place, and you're right. The standards and the expectations are high, and they're going to stay high. And Coach Sykes having the program for the 20 years previous, and even the teams prior to that when they were Division II and competing at a high level. I think what it always comes back to, and something we try to really instill in our guys, is just it's not about one guy. It's about being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, understanding how to take a role and make the most of it, and ultimately not caring who gets the shots or who gets the points, but just when the dust settles, who walks away with a W. And if you can have a locker room full of guys that are all in, that are fired up to be around each other, and that can also, I think our best teams, we had guys that didn't see the floor but found joy in their teammates' success. And in a culture where we live, that's not easy to find all the time. And so we really preach that to our guys, because we believe those are values that are going to help you be successful outside of basketball. But in addition to that, we've been very fortunate to have some wonderful players, come through this program as well.
You grew up in Gretna. You had a great career there at Morningside. You're the all-time assist leader for the Mustangs. Talk about what it meant to you to be part of that great program and now to be the head coach.
Honestly, it means the world. When people ask about Morningside, first and foremost, it just comes down to the people. Some of the people that I interacted with as a student here all those years ago are now, my colleagues, and man, I wouldn't trade them for the world. We just are very blessed with administration and faculty and people that are all on the same page and all pushing for the same direction. And that makes a huge difference. To now be able to represent them as the head coach, it just means the world to me. So the people here are second to none, and just want to do my best and to honor, the opportunity they've provided me.
Before we talk about this year's edition of the Mustangs, you mentioned Trey Brown. You got to talk about these guys that graduated. Trey Brown, 12.7 rebounds, and Zach Imig, 11.6 rebounds, led the team with 4 assists. Boy, those guys meant the world to the program, didn't they?
Yeah, being able to spend 5 years in playing, not having to redshirt, those guys were able to get a lot of stuff done and be a part of some very special teams. Always hard to see guys like that walk away, not only because of the things they did on the floor. Trey, being a second-team All-American his junior year, after playing the backup role for 3 years to Tyler Borchers prior to that, that's a guy that brought it every single day, that set the tone in practice, that was never afraid to do the extra work, and honestly, he relished it. And having a guy as skilled and as versatile as Zach Imig, man, it just allowed us to do a lot of different things. You could play him at the 4, you could play him at the 1. We got in pinches this year where we had to put him at the 5. And again, as good as they were on the floor and as much as we're going to miss them and the legacy that they've left between the amount of records and wins that those guys have and the conference titles, all that stuff is wonderful. But from a person standpoint, those are guys that you're just proud of. That they're going to represent Morningside at the highest level no matter where they're at. They're guys that can have functioning conversations, with adults as 20-year-old guys and guys that people in the community are looking up to, and they're just doing the right thing. So, yeah, very, very blessed to have those guys over the last 5 years.
And as many times as I read you guys' stats going through top 20 and stuff, I still butcher Zach's last name, and I apologize for that.
You know what? He can deal. He'll be just fine.
But there's 2 other guys that didn't get the minutes that those guys got, but they were really important to your program. Colin Hill, Tyler Vavrina. They were both important pieces of your program.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin and Vav, like you said, may not have gotten all the minutes, but gosh darn it, if you could just see them work every single day in practice. I mean, the reason some of those starters were so effective for those years is because of what they were seeing out of those 2 guys. And again, Colin and Vav were so about the team and no ego, just the epitome of what humility looks like in a player. Again, it sounds a little overdoing it, but I can't say enough good things about them. They're program guys. They're guys that stepped in when they were called upon and made plays. But yeah, they're the ones that are really hard to say goodbye to. And at the same time, they're going to do great things. And actually we kept Vav around. He's going to be our grad assistant this season, and he's already making an impact as a coach.
Oh, great. Okay, that's good to hear. I'm glad he's doing well, and he'll really enjoy that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yep, we're thrilled to have him, and our guys love working with him, and so it's been a cool thing to sit back and watch him grow as a coach as well. And
as I always like to point out to fans, the Mustangs cupboard is not bare. You've had some graduates that were important to the program who've left. Trent, you have 56. You averaged 78 points a game last season, and 56 points are returning. That's pretty unusual. Usually it's just the opposite. And you have the same with rebounds. 70% of your rebounds are coming back. So you have an experienced group, and it's all going to start with Aiden Vanderloo. Can that guy play basketball?
Yeah, you know what? We're fortunate to have Aiden on the roster, no doubt about it. Yep, and we're going to look to him. He's a guy that should be making open shots and should be able to create for other guys. There was definitely a transition period when he came over from Iowa, just playing full-time, getting in the mix in regards to how physical the game is and defensively being in the right spots, knowing our system. But from a leadership standpoint, from a system standpoint, he's taken off and run with it. So, yep, we are definitely going to be leaning on Aiden to kind of move this train.
One question about him, he shoots 42% from 3. I haven't had a chance to watch him that much. Is he able to make his own shot, or do you run the offense specifically to get him open?
I think it's a testament to Aiden's game. He can catch and shoot with the best of them. I think he might be one of the best horse players I've ever seen. You leave the guy open, and there's not really a shot that he can't make. However, no, we're not just running set after set for him. He's going to have to create. He was able to put the ball on the deck a little bit and rise up from 15 and knock some shots in. If we do what we're supposed to, and we have more guys being able to get into the paint, hopefully we can get him some in and out threes, because I do think that's where he's at his best. The other place that he's been effective is in transition, being able to catch one on the wing, sprinting down the floor, and going up and elevating. So he's got a kind of myriad of ways to score, and that's something we rely on.
You have a couple of guys who were halftime starters in and out of the starting lineup last season. Yep. They played significant minutes. Joey Scoff, he played 27 minutes a game, 10 points a game. And then Will Potabon, he played 22 minutes a game. That's some good experience you'll be able to mix in there.
And we're going to have to rely on that experience. We took some lumps last year. We had some battles, some overtime losses. They've kind of seen a little bit of everything. And some of those older guys, like a Trey Powers and a Will Potabom, they've been to the national tournament. They know, what those stages are like. That's something that we have to capitalize on, is that experience, because in the conference, that typically is what wins. You look at the rosters, those guys that get it done, that it's a lot of juniors, it's a lot of seniors. And I think it's a testament to just how good the league is. We are going to have to lean on Powers, Scoff, and Will Potabom to make plays on the perimeter.
So there were several guys you had last season that played significant minutes, I would call it, over 10, I think. Doble, Justin City, and Jack Dotzler. Do you see this group making a increased contribution this season?
I do. We're at a place right now where there's a lot of competition in some spots, but those are guys that, we're expecting to be able to take more of a responsibility and a bigger role this year than maybe they had in years past. Jack Dotzler and Justin City, both having some experience at the point guard spot. Another guy that got some minutes, Dylan Johnson, a 6'7" kid out of Western Dubuque, was a sophomore for us this year, freshman for us last year. He's a guy we're going to expect to see some more time. And then Owen Coburn was a 6'10" big kid we had transferred from Truman State. And he came in last year for a couple games, was kind of battling some injuries, looking at the red shirt, but with the situation of losing Brown, he came in and he's had a full postseason under his belt. And, we're expecting him to be able to make some plays down low. Definitely going to lean on those guys who've seen the floor before. And
then you brought over Tyson Gordon from North Dakota State. What kind of player is he?
Yeah, so Tyson's a different type of transfer. Tyson was a kid out of high school that we recruited heavily for basketball. But shoot, I don't want to misquote it, but Tyson was a kid out of high school that didn't lose a game in baseball, basketball, or football his senior year at Omaha. Oh yeah, at Omaha Skutt. So the kid's a winner. The kid's tough. He ended up taking a football scholarship to North Dakota State University. Those of you that know North Dakota State football, that's a pretty darn good place to go. And anyway, long story short, Tyson wanted to get some hoops in and get back to the floor. And that's where we're at now. We added him to the roster at the end of the season last year, or I'm sorry, end of the summer this year. And he's moving from football legs to basketball legs, but you're starting to see a guy who I think is going to help us be tougher, is going to help make plays and get the offense really moving. So excited to have Tyson be a part of this.
So is he an inside guy, a wing, a post? What does he play?
Yeah, so Tyson's about a 6'2", 6'3" perimeter, and we kind of have him at that combo guard slot. If he's got to bring it up, or if he's got to, play on the wing, he can do a number of those things, and we like what he does defensively. You
play there in the G-Pack. Talk about playing in the G-Pack.
Yeah.
All those nights off you get.
You love it. I tell people all the time, and many people that are not familiar with NAIA basketball, they don't know what they don't know. But shoot, if you have the opportunity to sit down into a conference game, and there are so many good conferences across the country, but we love it. The GPAC is great. The coaches are really good. The programs are talented. The kids stick around, and it makes for some really, really good basketball. And like I said, the margin for error is so small, and you got to just love it. I talk to my guys all the time. what a great opportunity to go compete against some of the best across the country on a conference basis. And to be able to play in areas where they have great followings. Our support is wonderful. And you get in some of these other games on the road, and you best bring it because it's good basketball.
The GPAC does something weird. You guys play, like this year you're playing Peru State the 29th. So what's that, Saturday after next as we record this.
Yep.
But then you jump right, you did this last year too. You jump right into GPAC play in early November. And then you play a few games, and then you kind of go back into non-con. Why do you do that? I don't understand. Do you know why that's done?
You know what? And I'm probably the worst. I'm the new guy here in regards to the conference.
That's why I put you on the spot.
Head coaches. That's a great question. I don't. They send out the schedule. We sign off on it. We try to go find non-conference. But it does seem early. You look across the board and to jump into it on the 12th already. It just kind of is what it is. But you adjust and you roll with it.
Yeah. Well, spoken like a true coach, you just play whoever's next on the schedule, right? I mean, that's the way you do it.
You got to be locked in no matter what. So it doesn't matter when it happens. Just sign us up.
So I want to ask you about this. You're going down to that small college basketball classic. That's in Aberdeen, or I guess you're going up to it. Aberdeen.
Yeah, we're going up to Northern State. The Northern State administration is going to host it along with John McCarthy and small college basketball, and it sounds like this is the inaugural event. That this is something that might be continued if it goes accordingly. But we just feel very blessed to be asked and be able to compete in this.
So you're going to play a couple of slackers in that. You're going to play Carroll on Friday the 18th, and then you're going to play Indiana Wesleyan on Saturday the 19th. How'd you get such an easy draw on such a big tournament?
You know what? This is awesome. I laugh because you look at that schedule and man, those two programs are just powerhouses. Coach Tonigal and I love Coach Clark over there. Those guys in Indiana Wesleyan, man, they just it's a machine. They've had wonderful teams. We've had battles with them, in 18 at the Elite Eight, and would have loved the opportunity to get them, face off with them in 20 before the COVID shutdown. And Coach Paulson, again, being in the national title game in 2019, the thing that they do at Carroll, they just play at such a high level. Man, it's just an opportunity. We get to talk to our guys all the time. This is what you want. If you want to play in the postseason and you want to make a run late, it helps to go play these guys because that's who's there. Those are the teams that have done it and done it at a high level for a long time. What an opportunity to go compete.
Coach, if your guys aren't jazzed, I don't know what it'll take. Your guys are going to play Peru State and then Grandview. You play Grandview at home there. And then starting on the 12th, you host Dakota Wesleyan, and they're going to bring it. I don't care what their record's been. They're going to bring it. And then you get to go to Dort. And they're going to welcome you fondly. They'll warm you up, won't they? Is that a tough place to play?
It's a great place. They do a wonderful job in regards to bringing energy, and you know what it is. It's a great place to compete, and you got to be locked in. You know what I mean? You got to be focused. You got to be tough. What else would you want?
Exactly.
It's a credit to the GPAC. Yep.
I know this isn't Morningside, but one of my favorite GPAC moments, I still have the video when Ty Hoagland was still at Dakota Wesleyan, and they were playing in Dort.
Yeah.
They were down one. He's up at the top of the key, and he's dribbling the ball. Everybody in the Plains knew that he was going to the bucket. Everybody. But I called it he played a game of double dog dare ya. He dribbled out there till the clock came down. He went off with his left hand quite a ways from the basket, and that thing dropped through as the buzzer went down. That was one of the best moments of GPAC basketball I ever saw.
I completely remember that play. And like you said, everybody's going, okay, Ty, you're going to get to your spot. You're going to do this, and that's what's so funny is you talk about how talented some of these kids are, where they're going to go. And half the time it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You're like that kid. Ty's able to get to his spot, and if he makes it, he makes it. But, because obviously Dort's in the same spot. They kind of, I'm sure they're going, hey, this is where he's going to go. And he was able to make a play. And I think there are so many moments like that happen within the conference. And if you look at the scores, there's just not many blowouts. There's no, lopsided victories. And I think that, again, is a credit to the other coaches in the league and how fun the GPAC is.
But that's a guy who just flat loved the game.
Oh, no doubt about it. And played with a passion that, he was pouring into his teammates. And of course you got guys where you're like, you don't love to coach against because you might have the best plan in the world. And, a guy like Ty Hoagland says, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to hit this 30-footer and I'm going to fall out of bounds. And, the Trent Hilbrins of the world have made those tough shots, and the Mason Walters in the world, those are the type of players that we have in the league. So, he was a fun one for sure.
So how excited are you for basketball to get started, and what do the Mustangs need to do this season to compete and challenge for that GPAC title?
Well, yeah, I can't wait. I've been chomping at the bit to get back to work. My guys, as well. We're thrilled to get the opportunity to go, start this season. For us, it's going to be establishing an identity. I think last year there was a moment where we kind of lost who we were in times, and we had some inconsistencies. And again, we had some guys in different spots. And I think for us, it's getting back to being a team that plays on both sides of the ball and being very efficient defensively. And just valuing every possession and getting great looks, not settling for good, but finding great shots each possession. I think we have guys that have a skill set that can do that, can put pressure on defenses if, we take care of the basketball and we play selflessly. I think that's going to be huge for us to be able to compete in the league.
Well, I'm going to tell the fans right now, you need to get your tickets and get out there and support this Morningside Mustangs team. They're going to be very good. They're battle hardened. They've all been through the GPAC at least once. It's still a young team. I think there's only two seniors, I think, but you're really going to enjoy watching this team play because Coach Miller is going to have them playing hard, and they're going to play disciplined. They're going to win a lot of games.
Bill, I appreciate that. Again, like you said, anytime you can catch a high-level NAIA game, the basketball is really fun. So, Again, thank you for what you do and just everything you're putting out there from all of us, all the coaches. We really, really appreciate what you do, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Coach. Well, that's Coach Trent Miller, Morningside Mustangs. Coach, I really appreciate you being on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much to Coach Trent Miller and to Morningside Mustang basketball. Really appreciate that conversation. The second-year head coach there, they're going to be much improved this season. So get out there. If you're in the GPAC or any NAIA school, get out there, get your season tickets, mark your calendar, figure out when you're going to take your whole family to the game. And you don't have to go get a bank loan because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.